Hi everyone, I'm Vone, owner, maker of Vone Knits, and the founder of the Handmade Creative Mastermind. I have an awesome guest today that we're going to be chatting with, and she is Ashley McKeever, and she does a whole bunch of stuff, so I'm just going to give the microphone to her and let her introduce herself.
Hi. As Bone said, I am Comfy Cozy Knits. I'm on Instagram and Etsy, sell my patterns on Ravelry. I do a lot of knit designs as well as some crochet designs, and I have handmade items as well. And I recently started doing dyeing yarn, and I love it. I'm super addicted.
What made you get in, like, what made you, after doing all this stuff, what made you decide that you're going to start dyeing yarn? Because this is fairly new.
It is. It's really new for me. The one thing that I really wanted to learn was self-striping yarn, and I'm slowly getting there because I think that the colors that you can do with it and just not having to change out for colors all the time, that is what really appeals to me. And it's not as readily available as a lot of other indie dyed yarn. So that's going to be my end goal focus.
That's awesome. No, and it's really not yet, you know what I mean? So that's
Wow.
actually really good, because self-striping yarn is still fairly new in the market to begin with. And I love that, because you know me, my number one tip for all knitters and crocheters is let the yarn do the work. So anytime
Exactly.
I get my hands on smart yarn, I'm all about it.
Right?
Self-striping yarn is probably one of the smartest yarns you're gonna get to encounter, you know, when you're making something. So that's a great goal. How do you dye your yarns? Like, what's all the process takes? How does it
There's a
all
lot
work?
of different processes involved. It depends on what type of effects you're going for. I do a lot of everything that I've done so far has been immersion dyeing. Basically, all I've done is on stovetop, so I haven't done anything in the microwaves or in ovens, anything like that, or hand painted. I haven't tried that yet either. Don't know if I'm going to, but we'll see. I learned a lot from tutorials on YouTube. Pretty much everything I've done so far has been from tutorials on YouTube.
That's awesome. YouTube is like the big teaching ground for anything anymore. You know, would you believe, before this YouTube channel, I barely even watched YouTube. But then again, 2 years ago, I was calling my brother up to Google stuff for me. So I was rarely on the
There
internet.
you go. Look at you now.
And look at me now. But it's so funny because everything is like YouTube. And I'm always like, YouTube. And I'm like, YouTube's been around forever. People have been learning from YouTube forever. And I'm just like, have you guys heard of this YouTube thing? It's got amazing stuff in there. Yeah, mind blowing. But yeah, so you mentioned that you sell patterns. How do you, so what is your pattern creative process? Like, how do you know, like, when you're doing patterns, how does that work for you?
Sometimes I just see something, whether it's in the environment I'm in, or memory, or I see something in a picture, and it doesn't have to be like another like fashionable item. It's just something that I'm like, oh, those two colors would be really cool together, and then maybe like a stripe effect, or maybe add in some eyelets. And I just like to play with different textures. So my inspiration comes from a lot of different areas.
Awesome. So do you do knit patterns and crochet patterns, or just you do both kinds of patterns? Or
I have done both. I do more knitting patterns. I probably will stay doing more knitting patterns. I'm not as advanced a crocheter. I know you are, because that's what you started out as.
yes.
With more than knitting.
Yeah, I'm actually, I'm a master crocheter, and then a newbie knitter, but I wanted to title my shop as Vone Knits because I wanted to basically psych myself out so that I could be a better knitter. You know what I mean? So if I figure if it was in my shop name, then I would be forced to continue to learn it and grow. And I actually discovered to cable knit. So like a whole new world has just opened up to me on cable knitting.
That's awesome.
And and it's so funny because I've never done it, and I always like had it so hard. It was always so hard and so unattainable. So I never bothered. And then I tested a pattern for somebody in the Facebook group, and all of a sudden I'm like, this is the easiest thing, and you could do so much with it. I was like, oh my God. And it's so easy.
I know, that's how I feel about knitting, because I started primarily as a knitter, and then I was like, oh, let's try this crochet thing. And I was like, oh, well, here's a couple tutorials, and I tried a couple different things, and then, but I still will default back to knitting because I find it so easy.
It's funny how like crocheters will look at knitters and go, that's so hard, and then and knitters will go look at crocheters and like, that is so hard.
Right?
But I like the two worlds, because do you find like when you do something, like sometimes like arthritis kicks in, or like does that ever happen to you where, because if I crochet too much, especially because I used to do dolls, my knits have to be so tight that it would just cramp my hands out. And then so after that, I'm like always looking forward to a knitting project because all of a sudden everything's loose. So do you find yourself like more tense with crochet?
I find, let me think about that. I've been crocheting a little while. I've been like knitting like a mad woman. I find my tension is, you're right, pretty tight when it comes to crochet. But then again, I have pretty consistent tension with my knitting too, and it's not very loose. But I do like to change it up every once in a while, because with crochet you're only essentially, you know, moving the one hand more than the other one, because you're just leading the yarn. Whereas with knitting, you're constantly moving both hands, and then it gets to the point where you're just like, okay, maybe I need to step back for a minute.
That's a really good point. That is exactly why I like to switch from crochet to knitting, is because I'm predominantly right-handed. When you're crocheting so much, it's always in the right hand, and so all of a sudden it's like I need to knit just to even everything out and get my left hand involved sometimes, you know. And then and that's why I actually like to knit. And now I'm actually right now doing more knitting than I am crocheting. And now that I'm cabling, I can't see me crocheting for even a longer time. Like, I think I'm going to be so far removed from crochet, I might not be able to call myself a master by the time I'm done this year, because I feel like I just have so much more knitting to explore. But probably because it's so new to me that I can still explore, where I feel like crochet is like, I feel like I've learned everything. So unless you know what I mean, it's not really much of a challenge for me right now. So that's why and knitting is a challenge. But if I ever have to do like a quick project, if somebody like asks me to do something really quick and something, I will fall back on crochet, because I can achieve the end result just a lot faster if I have to figure something out, as opposed to knitting, where I have to plan it and go, I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to complete this in the time span that you want this.
Yeah. Well, and I find too, a lot of times for myself, I do knit with smaller needles. I don't use a bigger size. So
like these bad boys that I'm playing with.
See, and that's like the size, like millimeter wise crochet hook that I would use. So then when I need to like let my fingers loosen up a little, okay, I need to crochet. 15 and 13 are my two favorite knitting needle sizes. When I first started out, I was 18 and 8 and 10, and then I discovered 13 and 15, and I can't see me going down. So it's so funny, because everybody's like, do you do socks or anything? I'm like, no, those are really small needles. I don't know. Yeah. See, and that's all I've been doing lately is like 2.25 millimeters for socks and like 4 millimeters for shawls. So yeah, I haven't been doing the big anything.
Oh my gosh. if only for the people that are watching that actually knit will appreciate that last statement you just made. 2 to 4 for a shawl. Like, how
Yeah.
long is that project? How long is that bad boy, Ashley? But you're probably
Pretty
fast.
lengthy, but I'm designing it, right? So if I was just knitting it from an already designed pattern, I would be moving a lot faster. But I'm having to stop and make notes and say, okay, this is what I did here. Oh, that didn't work, and so I got to tink it back and knit it again, or and just every little step of the process, it takes a lot longer than if I was to just follow a set of instructions.
Oh, I'm glad you're touching on this, because we have some people in the Facebook group. This is the Dare to Be Original Facebook group, and this is how I met Ashley inside of it. So I have the link if you guys want to join. And it's not just for knitters and crocheters, but I'm predominantly knit and crochet, which is how we've gotten a bigger community of knitters and crocheters, but it's not all knit and crochet. But there's a lot of people in that Facebook group that want to write patterns, and they don't know how to get started on writing a pattern. And Ashley is a pro at it, because you were the one that did that had a pattern out that like went big, didn't it?
Yes, yeah.
Right?
It was kind
Unraveling?
of crazy.
Tell people
I
about
wasn't
that.
expecting it. It was my Grace Infinity scarf, and I had put it out as a free pattern. I think it was last September, I want to say. It was sometime last fall.
Yeah.
And it just kind of blew up, and I was not expecting it. And it was like everywhere. I'm still kind of mind boggled by it, because it just totally threw me off guard.
What kind of reach did it end up getting on Ravelry? What was your recent number?
I think last I looked, it was, I think, favorited over 300 times, but I had like over 3,000 downloads within like a week.
That was
crazy.
Because I remember you posting in the Facebook group. It goes, "Hey guys, I just wanted to let you know I just put out a new pattern, and it's going to be free this weekend." And the next thing you know, you were like on everywhere on social media. I was like, "Wow!" I was like, "You think you just went viral?"
Right? I know. I was like, "Is this happening? Can somebody pinch me? Am I sleeping? Like, what's going on?"
But so not that anybody can really like. Not that there's a formula to go viral, but it did start off with great pictures, because you had amazing pictures with that pattern, and it just accompanied with it, because the moment you put it out there, you know what I mean, everybody was like checking out the shawl and the pictures, and it was just perfect. It was perfect, and the design was great, and everybody wanted their hands on it, because I don't even think that even if they didn't know how to make it, I feel like people were just downloading it because it looks so good that maybe they'll potentially learn it one day.
Aw, thank you.
But that was it. I remember you were like, "I don't know how it went viral." I'm like, "Well, I'm gonna tell you, the pictures were gorgeous, so let's just start with that."
I need to like thank my son for that, because he was the one that took the pictures.
He was your photographer? Yeah.
Yes, he was.
You were definitely beautiful in it, so he did a great job.
Thank you.
That's awesome. So so for the people in the Facebook group, they did they ask a lot that they want to do a pattern. So how do you go about writing a pattern, and what do you end up using? Like, what programs do you end up using to make your patterns?
Before I got my new computer, all I ever used was Microsoft Word, and I just made a cover page as one part of it, and then put everything that you needed, and then went with the instructions. And I know some people, like, there's so many different styles you can do. You can do it as a fold out like template sort of thing, or you can have it just as multiple separate pages, which is how I do it. I find it easiest that way, and then I'm not having to play with the rows and keeping everything lined up, because it's a lot of extra work, and I just quite frankly don't want to do it. But I've tried a few different techniques, and added a few things as I go and learn new things with design work, and check boxes to keep track of rows if you're doing the same steps over and over again. So you can kind of keep track that way. And I find if something's difficult, having an explanation of to do it instead of just go here to find it, I think that helps too.
That's a great point. That's a great point, because if they can get their instructions all right then and there, people definitely appreciate that, instead of putting it down and go, oh, let me turn on my computer and figure something out, you know what I mean, and try this, and then because when they get to roadblocks like that, they have a tendency to just put it down. And putting it down is, we creators, when we put something down, it's tough for us to
I know, and then it ends up languishing somewhere forever, and then until you find it again, you're like, oh yeah, that's where that went.
Yeah. Like, oh yeah, I never finished that. I wonder why.
Yeah. I mean, sometimes you have to, don't get me wrong. Like sometimes there'll be like, if you're talking about Jenny's incredibly stretchy bind off, for example, if you don't know how to do it or how to explain it, some people are visual learners. So having the explanation with a link to, you know, where to find the YouTube tutorial or something like that can be helpful for the visual learners that need to see it as opposed to read it. So it just kind of depends on your audience and how you want to attack it.
How long have you been writing patterns? Have you?
I think now it's been about 2 years.
2 years. And how long have you been knitting and crocheting?
Knitting 6 years. Crocheting maybe 4.
And now you're dyeing yarn.
I know. It's like
so you're doing all this in less than a decade, basically, right?
Yeah.
Less than a decade. That's so awesome. That's so awesome. If you guys, I will share all of Ashley's links to her Ravelry for her patterns, and she also has goodies that she makes, handmade goods that she puts in her Etsy shop. And are your patterns in your Etsy shop as well?
Yes, they are.
Yes, they are. Yeah. And so what goodies do you make besides the shawl and? Besides
shawls, I do a lot of we're in Canada, so I do a lot of hats and scarves, mostly for ladies and winter styles. I do have a few mitts in there and a few little accessories like mug cozies and face cloths and things like that.
That's awesome. Do you do any craft fairs, or are you all solely online?
I do some craft fairs.
Oh, you do? That's awesome.
I do. I'm actually going to be at the Etsy Made in Canada Edmonton show this year. I'm pretty stoked for it. Yeah, I know, and it's 2 days this year. So I'm like, extra prep.
Oh my gosh. So that's great. So what does that entail? What is extra prep? Like, what are you doing to get ready for a craft show, especially a 2-day one? That's a huge thing.
I know. So what I've been doing, and I started back in May because, you know, it's going to be here before I know it. I mean, it's already July, for crying out loud.
Yeah.
So the market's in September. So what I've been doing is every day or every other day, I would say, okay, I have to make one hat before I can do personal knitting or work on design work, anything like that. And that way I am building up my inventory and then having time for something else, so that I'm not just leaving it all to the last minute, because I've been terrible for that in the past. Oh my gosh.
I love that. So you do keep a semi-regular schedule, or that, because I just recently, I have to make 100 scarves for my October launch on Etsy. Wow. That was my goal at the beginning of the year, was that I was going to YouTube and blog once a week, have 100 scarves inside my Etsy shop by October, so that I would have my shop already all listed, and then I just basically don't produce. Like, I just sit and wait for the shopping season and just take in the orders. Yeah. That was my goal, because I didn't want to, because I, like last year and the year before, I was because I've only been doing this for 2 years, and really just a year, because the first year wasn't really anything. I just got it signed on and I just let it sit there for for months and months, you know, because I didn't have
Yes.
the courage to like to do anything about it. But so it was basically last year, and I didn't like last year. I just didn't enjoy my Christmas because I was like constantly making and trying to fill in the shop. So this year I wanted to be more strategic about it, and
Mm.
so but the first half of the year I was blogging and trying to get my online schedule all, you know what I mean, into
Yeah.
play, and it's taken me this long to figure out about like creating like social media content ahead of time, like a month ahead of time, so that I can spend the month doing other things. So I just take basically one day and come out with a calendar. Actually, this is my July calendar. I don't know if it's too bright that you could see it, that I've literally marked out every single day that I have to check off and make sure that I have all my social media content ready to be posted that day. So I'm not worrying about what to post today, what picture should I edit, you know what I mean? Because that just takes up so much time. And before you know it, I'm stuck on Instagram for an hour, and I'm like, where did the time go? You know what I mean? All I
Right?
did was sign on to post. You know
It's
what I
like totally one of those the struggle is real moments.
mean? Yeah, so real, so real. So it's taken me this long, and then now here I am. I'm in my third quarter, and I made 25, and I have to make 75 the for the next 3 months. So I make that October deadline, right? So that's 25 scarves a month, which is 5 to 6 scarves a week. So we're like, what do I do? Because I have a daytime job, and so I came up with this really great schedule because I was talking to one of the Kelly Azevedo from the Conquer Club that I'm in this year, and she had suggested to me that why don't you set 3 nights a week where you just knit. You just knit on those 3 nights and don't do anything else. Don't worry about your blogs. Don't worry about internet. Don't worry about
Yeah.
anything else. And when she said that, literally the weight fell right off my shoulders, and this big light bulb came out. I'm like, why didn't I think of that? Why didn't I think to put structure in there? Because whenever I knit, I would feel guilty that I wasn't blogging and doing the other stuff. You know what I mean? Like as for you, maybe for pattern, like you said, to do
Yeah.
creative stuff, you know what I mean? But then at the same time, like you have to produce, you know what I mean? So I'm glad that you touched on that. So ever since then, I've created these knitting nights where all I do is knit, and I get so much done, and then I don't care if the blog came out or if I didn't, you know what I mean? Like it's going to happen when it happens, but it's got to happen outside those days that I have to produce, you know?
Exactly.
And you do have to be that disciplined about it, you know? But at the same time, I could sit and knit all day long and not do anything else and not
Oh
worry
my
about my
like
my
every
world,
day.
which is where the guilt would come into play, because I could sit and knit all day long and not be bothered with anything else, but then all of a sudden you have all these things and you've done nothing with them.
Yes.
So yeah, this struggle is really real. Our schedule and everything is very real about that
Yeah.
stuff. So what do you have going on for how did you get in that Etsy market? Is there a certain application that you had to be a part of, or because I don't think we have anything that close
Um,
here.
there was, I think we had, I think it was last December, I think, had to be in. They were really early this time around. They wanted to do a lot of marketing and for the event this year. So I just happened to see the posting and put in my application with, you know, what the requirements were and some photos of my work and things, and said, okay, let's wait and see. And yeah, it got the email and I was like, yes, I get to go again, because last year was just so awesome.
Oh, so this is your second year doing it?
Yeah, second year, but last year was only 1 day, so it's a little bit more work this year.
Yeah, that's amazing. You'll definitely have to share about that. I'll definitely be watching out for for that whole thing, because I love seeing because that's a big deal. That's being in the
Yeah.
Etsy showroom is a big deal, especially for
Yeah.
It's amazing. Yeah, so I'll definitely be checking checking up on you for that. Actually, when is it, in September? I
The 23rd and 24th, yeah, in September.
23rd and 24th. This is actually perfect timing because I think by the time I roll this interview out, it will be around that time.
Nice.
You know what I mean? We could definitely help you market you for that and get this interview right around that time. So that actually works out really perfectly.
Yeah, no kidding.
So you'll have like a video interview to go with your showroom. Go with your showroom trip. That's actually really perfect. So don't you love it? Don't you love the blue ocean that we are creating for ourselves? It's really, really amazing. And so are you doing this full time? Do you work too, or?
I do work. I work part-time, although it's almost like approaching full-time hours, even though not really. It's still about 30 hours a week, and I work at a grocery store. I do a whole bunch of different things there, but I love it. I love it. It's a nice little getaway, and not to a point where I have to come home and worry about, oh my gosh, I didn't get this done today or that done today. And it's just kind of, I can go and talk with some people and come home and not have to worry about anything, and I love it.
Yes, that is awesome. That is awesome. That's actually what I like about my job that I'm doing, because I can't imagine being it would be tough to have a job where you would carry that home with you and then to try to pursue a side world, you know what I mean? Like, so it's nice to have a daytime job that you are not like bringing home with you, so that you could focus your energy on this side business. So do you knit and crochet every day? Are you constantly writing patterns? Like, what is your schedule like?
I write, I have ideas. I have an idea book. I keep everything in. It's just when I get around to doing it more so than when it happens. I don't force myself to write something out. I have to be inspired and want to do it. And I will let it sit there until I have it like perfectly figured out before I even touch it. And then even then, when I start working on the design, it may change like 5 or 6 times before it's been finished, but at least I will have the idea almost nailed down to start.
That's such a great thing, because it's funny, because even inside the Facebook group, people are like always looking into they'll say, hey guys, I'm not sure what to make, so tell me what to make. And that's always like the opposite of what, you know what I mean? Like, especially for me, because when I first started, I was like, I'll make whatever you want me to make, you know what I mean? And I'll sell whatever you want me to make that you want to buy. And over the course of, I started realizing that the more stuff that I was making that people were forcing me to make that I wasn't feeling making, it was just really eating at me, and to the point where I'm now at the point where I won't take custom requests anymore, where I'm like, I'm just going to make something when I feel the creativity. And then when I make it, and if you guys love it, then have at buying it. But if you don't, then there are other people that will make exactly what you want. And I'm like, it's probably not the best business model, but it serves me and my creative outlet, because I'm actually starting to realize more and more that the more I'm forced to do something like I'm doing this for fun. Like you know what I mean? Like, I want to obviously monetize it, but I also want to keep the fun aspect of it with it. And I think that's why I dropped the dolls. I started making dolls and scarves, and I couldn't decide between the two worlds. And then finally I just dropped the dolls and went right into the scarf world, because I enjoy scarf better, and I can grow with making scarves, and you know what I mean, and I feel like I can expand with it. And then and how I knew to fully drop it was when I would cringe at the thought that somebody might place an order for the dolls and then I would have to make it.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And that's when I was like, oh, this is hindering my creativity, and I'm not feeling making it. So I'm glad that you said that, because I will sit on something for a long time, as like with the yarns behind me. I will sit on something until the right inspiration comes and the right project comes, and then I will move forward with it.
Exactly. And you have to, because you don't want it to the point where you don't like what you're doing anymore.
That is,
You
yeah,
know, you
that's a,
don't want to fall out of love with it. And if you're doing it just for the sake of doing it, you're losing that enjoyment, and that's important.
it really is so important. This is, I mean, our hobby is our creative aspect of it. Our hobby is what we enjoy. So and it's okay to monetize what you enjoy, but when you solely go after the monetizing part and not enjoy it, yeah, that's when you really got to step back and take a gander at what's happening and scale it and scale it back. And that's essentially what I did. And that's good to know that you have that same creative process where you won't like just put out patterns just to put out another pattern, just to put out another pattern, to put out another pattern.
Yeah, no, I won't do that. I have probably 5 or 6 that I'm sitting on right now that I would like to do, but A, I need to finish the one I'm working on, and B, they're just not quite there yet. So they'll wait.
Oh, so you're sitting on like 5 or 6. So you have patterns the way we all have our knit and crochet projects working in progress. Like, so you. So how many, here's a good point. How many knit and crochet projects, how many whips do you have going on right now that's waiting?
Oh my gosh. Okay, let's see. I have a pair of socks. I have a shawl design and a blanket. 3! Oh my gosh.
3.
I only have 3.
Notice, like, only the true makers appreciate I only have 3.
Right? I used to be so bad. I'd have like 7, 8.
7 or 8
more
is the
than
average.
10 things on the go.
Yeah, 7 or 8 is the average, and then 10 is probably when I start to go, okay, I really need some help, and I need to stop and don't go to the yarn store, don't make anything, don't start any new projects, because start-itis is very real, people. It's very real.
It is.
Because so I think, what do I have? I'm doing very good because I have these because I have this new goal to finish stuff, so I'm forcing myself to finish them just so they're quicker and that I have finished products. So I don't have any. I think I have 2 current whips right now. Wait, no, I'm lying. I have 2 current ones that I'm currently working on that I will finish and that I want to. And then I probably have maybe 9 projects that I have just made and stuck somewhere. Like, so golf club covers. I think I started on 2 double knit projects that never went anywhere. They probably about this much in scarf wise. And then I don't see me picking them back up, at least not till October, not for this launch, because you know what I mean, I'm just going to be starting something new. So yeah, I probably have 8 or 9 whips total, and you have to count them as whips because you didn't undo them, you know what I mean? So they are utilizing my hooks and my needles.
I know.
Like, they are in bags, all grouped up, ready to go. Oh, actually, you know what? I have 3 because there is one in my actual real knitting bag that I put aside. It's a wool crochet scarf. I probably should pull that back up just to finish it off and be done with it and have another completed project. But yeah,
and another set of free needles.
I have a lot of that too. Don't worry about my tools, you know. So I have like 2 sets of 15s, 2 sets of 13s, and then I also have the interchangeable needles. I just scored this past couple months ago with a very nice cool coupon from Joanne, so I was able to get like a $70 circular set for just like $30. That was a huge score for me. That was a huge score for me. But it's so funny because when the project came, I didn't think about using the interchangeable, and then I went to go buy a real circular, a ready-made circular, and I went to use it. And I'm like, oh, that's right, I have that interchangeable kit that I could have been using. Oh well. Oh well. So let's go back to, since you're yarn dyeing. Do you know, like, have a place that you're sourcing right now, or for your yarns? Like, are you using just acrylic? Are you using wool? Are you cotton? Or
Um,
anything?
no, I'm using, so far I'm only working with sock yarn right now, and everything that I've been doing is an 80-20 base. So it's 80% superwash merino and 20% nylon.
Oh, that's awesome. That's probably so soft and so much
Yes.
fun to play with.
Oh my gosh, yes. Just try it one day. Just try it.
I actually will. I actually will. Actually, I definitely will. So if you guys are interested in Ashley's amazing patterns, definitely check her stuff out. I will leave all of her links down below, and definitely check out her beautiful finished products too. And we can't wait to see what comes out of your Etsy showroom, that whole thing with the 2-day event. So we'd love to find out in the Facebook group, like how well that worked out, or just how much fun it was. You know what I mean? Because that's definitely a dream of mine, like one of the final goals. And you're already there, so so I'm just gonna live vicariously through you is what I'm gonna do, and say
You'll
I
get
know somebody in
there.
those. Yeah,
You'll get there. You can do it.
yeah.
I know you
One
can.
one day, someday. It's all there's a bunch of stuff on that list, Ashley. So many stuff. All right, guys. Well, I had so much fun. Thank you for doing this with me, and good luck with your
Thank
show.
you.
And and I will see everybody else next week for whatever one I have going on. So everybody, God bless, and I will see you guys next week. And thank you, Ashley. Bye.
Bye.